Welcome to another episode of Clutch Entrepreneurs. Today I have a special guest, one of my first mentors in real estate, somebody that kind of changed the way I thought and what I thought was possible and just kind of made me reevaluate myself. All right, so this guy, I remember seeing him for the first time, came into the office with a suit, slick, and I was like, who's this guy, you know? And then I met him and I found out a little about his background, and it just kind of like opened my eyes a little bit. Like, damn, taught me about reading and mindset, exercising, discipline. And so it's going to be a great story. It was kind of a big part of my transformation. So my guest today, Carlos Garcia.
My man, thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to tell you this for 2 years since I started my podcast.
Hey, man, I've been watching you grow, man. You've been doing a good job, man. I love it. I've been a fan, and it's an honor to be able to be on it. Finally.
Thank you, bro. Hey, you know, it's funny because you've seen my transformation in real estate. Right. From like actually day one in real estate.
Yeah. Construction John,
Yeah, all the way up to this. So, right on. I remember like specifically, right? We were there at this brokerage, and I saw you were like in a blue suit. Yeah. And I never really seen suits before because I was in the construction field. I mean, not like I've never seen a suit, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Like in my industry.
Yeah, you didn't see people wearing them.
Right. So we were in, we're in construction, right? And so I was like, damn, that looks cool. I saw it and I was like, that's cool. Who's this guy? And nobody was really even wearing suits at the company, right? It was more like casual. And I asked about it, and you told me about I think you did a presentation and you were just saying how you ran like 8 miles. Right. I was like, God damn. What?
I was marathon training.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. Hold on, bro. You just ran 8 miles? What do you mean? Like, and then you told me your background, and it kind of surprised me. Like, damn. Okay. This is different. Right. This is different. Okay. And so for people that don't, my audience that doesn't know you yet, man, tell them a little bit about who you are and just a little intro for who you are.
Right on. So born and raised San Antonio. I grew up on the west side of San Antonio. So 78207 zip code. I always got to shout it out. And the reason it's important is just because it's one of those areas where there's a lot of adversity, a lot of poverty, and it was definitely a challenge, growing up in that side of town. But coming out of it, I graduated from Brackenridge High School. In 2021, I ended up I spent a couple years in prison when I was 19. And then after that, I had a few kids early on. And then I ended up going to college, getting my degree in real estate finance and development. And I ended up getting a master's degree. I got my real estate license, got into real estate. So aside from that, I'm a father, love my children. I have a family of 7. I'm married, been married for 13 years, going on 18 years with my wife. So, it's been a long journey, but yeah, it's definitely been something that I've been able to appreciate, and every step of the way has always been about learning and growing, right? Can't settle for whatever the circumstances are. We can make the change we want to see. So that's a little something about me. I kind of ran y'all through some of the stuff. So
and that background right there is kind of like what surprised me, right? I didn't expect that. So that's a big change, right? So you went to prison for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. What'd you go to prison for?
So we'll start there. After growing up, I played football all the way from Pee Wee all the way to high school, right? Mm-hmm. Once I got to the point of, and that was kind of the thing that kept me out of trouble. Okay. Because I was always around, gangsters and just drug dealers and, but I was an athlete first. So, that was something that kept me grounded. Well, once I got to my senior year of high school, and it was like, man, so, what's going to happen after this? Mm-hmm. And man, the future didn't look bright. I didn't have a father to guide me. I was with my stepdad, but he didn't really give me too much advice. He didn't really know what to do. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of just lost in the world. And so I gravitated towards my friends. Football was over. I wasn't going to be an athlete. I wasn't going to play college ball. I didn't even think college was even possible for me at the time. I was like, man, well, who am I? Like, who am I? Am I just going to be this street person? Is this what my life's supposed to be? So spending a lot of time with my friends out in the streets, and I ended up having my first son at 18 years old. So that put responsibility on my plate that I wasn't really ready for. And so I started, trying to work jobs. I worked at UPS. I worked at Oak Farms Dairy. A lot of labor jobs that really sucked, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you worked really hard and you hardly got paid. And, I was like, this isn't me. I'm not that kind of person. Like, I'm not, when I played ball, I was a starter, right? I was always a starter. I was always a performer, so I always thought of myself as that kind of person.
Yeah.
So those jobs never lasted for me.
Yeah.
And then, so I started gravitating towards my friends that were actually making money in the street. They were out there hustling and, anything and everything that they can to make some money. So, I asked my friend, hey, put me on, man. Put me in, coach.
I need
to make some money. I got a son.
Yeah.
I'm actually out on the streets. My girlfriend kicked me out. I'm not living with her. And, so some people turned me on and onto the street life and to the hustle life. And I went head first, bro. I went head first. Started selling some dope, and, within about 3 months, man, my world came crashing down really fast.
It was that fast?
It was fast, bro.
3 months?
Like about 3 months just out there hustling. And, we were in what's called a trap. We were one of those trap houses. And, police raided, man. They found a bunch of drugs, a bunch of guns. And it was pretty scary time for me because, at that time I was only 18 years old. And I've never been in trouble, never been to jail. And, so I was like, man, well, actually I had went to jail, but it was like a small, weed possession case.
Yeah.
A little slap on
This
the
is
wrist.
serious.
Yeah, this is serious. Like,
Yeah.
man, like this is prison time
Damn.
that I'm looking at. And I remember going through the magistrate, and the judge gave me my bond, and it was like $100,000 bond. I was like, man, I don't
You're
have
staying
that
in
money.
there.
I don't know when I'm coming home.
Yeah.
And so I went in there, and I was just kind of like, I was just wondering, like, man, is this it? Like, is this my life? I can be in here forever, and every day felt like forever, man. It felt like an eternity, bro. Damn. And so I sat there for about 9 months in the county jail, and I remember, I would go to the law library, and I learned about getting a bond reduction.
Okay.
So I was reaching out to my family members. I was like, hey, apply for a bond reduction. Get me a lawyer. Like, I need help. I mean, I'm sitting here. I don't know what's happening. So they did. They hired a lawyer for me, and I went for the bond reduction. And when we did that, then the U.S. Marshals actually put a detainer on me, and they're like, "Nope, you ain't going anywhere."
What does that mean?
So what that means is that my case was actually transferring from a state case to a federal case because there was guns and drugs that were involved. Then that made it a federal offense. So I was like, all right, well. I was kind of like sad, but then I was still kind of like happy because we have some movement. I was literally in the county jail for 9 months, didn't hear a thing. Damn. And being in that space, man, around those people are just, it's not the best thing, man. You're around a bunch of crazy people, and it's very hostile, very hostile environment. Like, I'm talking riots can pop off at any time.
And you're 18.
And I'm 18.
Baby.
And at that, I'm like, man, I'm dangerous to myself. It's like,
Damn.
It's whatever at that point, because I don't know what my life's gonna be like, but I still gotta, survive in, survive in that space.
Right.
So I was able to just like get through that process, and once they put the detainer to me, they moved me to another facility, which is the old Barrett County Jail, which is now called GEO. It was called Wackenhut at the time, but man, like this place is like old school bars, real dirty place, man. It's just a very bad facility to be held in. So I got transferred there, and I remember, things started to move a little bit. I went to court. I met my attorney. I started to learn more about what I was facing. In the state, my charge carried a 0 to 99 year sentence. 0 to 99.
What the?
I'm like, man.
What was the case?
It was possession with intent to distribute heroin and coke, and then guns, dangerous weapons. So it was like, it was bad. And when I got transferred to the feds, then the guidelines changed, right? They had a different system that they sentenced you on. So the way it worked was based off of what I had like in my mere possession is what they charged me with, which wasn't that much, but it was enough to where my sentencing range was between 18 months and 36 months. So,
oh, damn.
So I was like, all right, this is
from 0 to 99 years. That's like a life sentence.
There's hope here. I had some hope.
So you're like, okay, 3 years max.
3 years max, right?
Good. Yeah.
So, I go to court. I ended up getting to a point where they dropped the dangerous weapons because I didn't actually have any guns in my possession. I was a first-time felon. Mm-hmm. So they dropped that and it reduced it. So it was actually just 18 to 24 months. So
because the gun wasn't in your possession?
No, there was no.
Like
gun.
It was just a gun there.
It was there in the house.
It wasn't on you.
It wasn't on me. It wasn't in my room. So
okay.
So they ended up sentencing me towards like.
Oh, your room was. You were living in the
trap house. I
was
living in the trap
Damn,
house. Yeah,
okay.
that's how bad it was.
You were deep in the trenches.
Yeah, I was deep in there, man. I had no choice, man. I had no choice. I had nowhere to go. Okay. But yeah. So I ended up when it came time to it, man. I ended up getting 18 months is what they gave me, and then so I actually ended up serving about 24 months because by the time I got sentenced, I was on probation for like a weed charge.
Okay.
And so they gave me credit to serve that time, which was like another, 3 or 4 months or something like 6 months. And then, and so I ended up doing like 2 years. And, but they dropped the dangerous weapons. And so I was like, all right, there's a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they also gave me like credit for the time I had been sitting there.
In county.
In the county, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. So by the time I got sentenced, I really only had like 3 months left to go.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah. So I was
That's
like,
cool.
man, all right, I'm short timing now.
Dang. Okay.
There's hope, right? And
Yeah.
I remember being in there, and one of the things was like, man, I was just praying to God, like, man, just if I get another chance, if I get one more chance,
wasn't you.
I'm gonna do better, because I'm like all in whatever it is, right? If this is my life, then I'm gonna be I'm gonna be the best gangster I can be. If that's not my life, then I'm gonna be the best whatever it is that I'm gonna be. I always shoot to be the best that I could be at whatever I do.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad. In that situation, right? But thankfully, I was cut a break. And I was fortunate to have my freedom. I came out 3 years supervised release. I was on probation when I came home, and yeah, man, that's where I came home, and I was like, all right, start over, reset,
Divine intervention. It was only 3 months.
It was 3 months left.
No, like you were only in that lifestyle for 3 months, and then it happened.
Yeah, then
it was kind of like divine intervention, right? Like, it could have been a lot worse. You just got really scared.
Well, I think God was watching me and like, this ain't you.
This ain't you.
This ain't you.
Yeah.
This is not what I made you for.
Right.
But you need to learn some hard lessons.
Right.
You've been doing some bad stuff.
Yeah. No. Thank God, right?
Yeah, and so he checked me, and I was like, all right, well, here I am. I'm back home, and let me figure this out again. What am I gonna do? How I'm gonna do it? So I came home, had some friends that I grew up with, on the west side, and he's like, yeah, man, you can stay with me. So I had a place to stay, and so I moved in with one of my friends, Raul, and he gave me a home. Shout out, Raul Monster. Appreciate you, bro. Helped me get on my feet. But that wasn't like, my life wasn't completely changed. I actually, when I came home, I had even more responsibility, right? Because I had one son.
Mm-hmm.
Before I went in, I had got another girl pregnant, and I had another son when I came home, which I wasn't sure I was the father. But then, child support got me, and then they gave me the test, and they're like, yeah, you're the dad. Yeah. So I have more responsibility. And then I met another girl, and I started dating her for a few months, and about 4 months later, she got pregnant. So boom, I got 3 kids, and now it's like, something's got to give. Like, this isn't gonna last, because I don't know how I'm gonna take care of these kids, let alone how am I gonna take care of myself. Mm-hmm. So something has to change, something has to give, and I need to change. Well, around that time when my third son was on the way, I also had an experience where my younger brother, he was 16 years old, and this was before Tracy got pregnant. He was 16 years old, and he got killed. He got shot in the face. It was an accidental shooting.
Who was that?
My younger brother. My younger brother Nick. And man, and I was torn, man. I was torn. I was like, man, what's going on? Like, why did this happen? Like, why did this happen? And it was at my dad's house, my stepdad's house, and I was like, man, how could this happen here? Like, what's going on? And it was a tragedy. And then I was just like trying to figure out life, man. It just wasn't making sense anymore. I wasn't sure, like, what's the purpose here? You know, like, what do I do next? So I just kind of came to terms, and soon after that, that's when I found out Tracy was pregnant with my third son, and I was like, all right, man, I need to change. Like, Nick's gone. I have 3 kids. If I keep in this path, because when I came out, I'm still back in the same circles, meeting with old friends, starting to dabble a little bit, and I'm like, man, if I keep on this path, it's not going to end well for me. And I remember Tracy telling me, she's like, hey, well, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to school. I have a son on the way. This is what I'm going to do. And I remember, like, hey, well, maybe I should go to college. Maybe I should give that a shot. And she's like, you should. She's like, you should, because if you go back to prison, then don't expect me to go visit you. And I was like, man, that's real, and I wouldn't expect that. So, so that led to us, going to college together. She influenced me to go to school, and really that was like the life that I was looking for, right? That was the encouragement that I was looking for. Somebody to actually point me in the right direction to do something positive. Because what I came to terms with is like, all right, well, how do you become really successful, right? How do you grow? What separates me from the millionaire, from the billionaire, right? And it came down to one thing. It's like, man, it's what they know. It's what they know, and it's how they use their mind to get what they earn. And if you ever, at that time, if I asked myself, what were my skills? I was like, man, I don't know. Well, that can't be the answer. If you don't know your skills you better get yourself some skills, right? Well, then how? Where? what am I going to do? I already know I don't like to work labor jobs. I already know that, working a 9-to-5 is probably not for me. One, I'm already a felon. I need something else. I need something that's going to be able to provide me with the opportunity to make a big income. Why? Because I already have 3 children, and that's a lot of responsibility, right? Yeah. A lot of mouths to feed. So, so that's really how that started, man. I started on that career path, that college career path. You know what I'm saying?
So this is the turning point in the story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The light literally just turned on.
Yeah.
We're going to leave that in the video. We didn't script that.
Right on.
So I was just saying, like, okay, so this is where the turning point is. But a lot of people probably have similar stories to the first part.
Yeah.
Right? And luckily, divine intervention, right? You meet a woman that's leading you into a different path now. Right. But I was just saying, like, I like this part of the story, right? Or the other part. Yeah. Because that's the challenge.
Right. Well, there's plenty more to come.
And there's always more. There's always more. It never stops. Because I was saying, like, I like watching a lot of autobiographies. Right. Or just biographies. And, like, these guys that we know about that made it to the pinnacle of whatever industry or history, whatever they're trying to accomplish, they went through some shit. Yeah. And they went through some shit and they just never stopped.
And we're no exception.
Exactly.
Everybody has to do it. Yeah, if you want success, you have to go through it.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, just that. So now you're going to college.
Right.
What college did you go to?
So so what we did was we went to Northwest Vista. Okay. And we applied.
Northwest Vista.
Yeah, shout out Northwest.
For one semester.
Yeah, they hooked me up. We applied for school, and then we applied for financial aid. Well, here was the thing: is that the only way we can get financial aid is if we filed for like common law marriage, because we were so young. At that time, Tracy was 22, turning 23. I was 22. No, she was 22, turning 23. I was 22 years old. So they're like, well, we had been living together for some time. We had a child, so we were able to get financial aid, and that's what got us into school. But like, it was one of those things where that was a hard thing to do. Like just going to college isn't that easy. Because one of the things that I struggled with back then was, one, my identity. Because who was I before I went to college, man? I was a street guy. And in the street and in my circle, I felt like I was respected. You know, I felt like people treated me a certain way, and you know, I earned my stripes, so to speak, right? So
This is a whole different thing.
this is a whole different thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm cutting all that off. I'm not that person anymore.
Right.
I'm not this street guy, this tough guy. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm a schoolboy now.
Yeah.
And on top of that, going into it, the way I would speak was totally different. You know, because I the majority of the time I spoke in slang. I hardly enunciated my words. You know, I was fearful of public speaking. Like there was a lot of things that I was just scared to do, or you know, didn't have the confidence to do because I wasn't skilled. You know, but I did have to humble myself, and I said, if you really want this, you know, and I think God's talking to me, you really want this, you need to let that go. You need to let that life go. You need to let all these connections go, and you need to convert into this space, you know, and go all in. And I did. And I remember telling Tracy this, and this is pretty crazy because this was like a defining moment. I told Tracy, we go to school. I said, I'll take one class, right? If I pass, I'll go all in. If I fail, it wasn't meant to be, you know? And it was like that.
Damn.
You know, pass or fail. Pass, I go all in. Fail, hey,
You're a different route.
here I come, streets. And thankfully, so I went to college. I did my remedial courses. I took my first college course, which was a government class. I remember this, and this was crazy because I remember, you know, kind of going and just giving my best effort, but there was a final presentation that I had to give, and it was with the team, and I kind of half-assed it, and I wasn't really prepared to present. So when it came to my turn to speak, man, I just started reading off the slides word for word, and I was sweating. I was embarrassed. And I remember at the end of that presentation, and this is like the final presentation to like pass or fail the class. I remember the professor came up to me and he's like, "Hey, Carlos, you know, I want you to know, like, I see, you know, you working and working on change, and I want to encourage you to keep going. Like, just keep working on it.
Wow.
Now, this class, you're probably not gonna get the grade that you want." Shit, I'm about to fail. But I want you to keep going. Like, I want you to keep doing your best. I was like, all right, well, what's my grade? He's like, you're going to get a C. I was like, man. I was like, all right, well, man, thank you. I don't think you know, but you just dictated the direction of my life. It was literally in your hands. And that was, and I did, man. I committed. I went all in. And I went to school regularly.
You see the bell ring?
Yeah.
We got a sale, but it's a perfect part of the story. He just dictated the perfect my life. You won,
Winner, right? And that's what happened, man. Like, so I committed. I went all in, and I remember, you know, Tracy would tell me, like, join as many organizations as you can. You know, do whatever. Go to the tutoring lab, get as much help as you can. Just
go all in.
And I did, man. I became
awesome.
I became an honor student. I joined the Student Leadership Institute. They even had me give a speech at the honor roll ceremony, like in front of 200 people, sharing my story. It was very intimidating.
Did you do good?
I did good, man. I had a standing ovation. It was crazy at Vista. It was awesome in the cafeteria. And but that just boosted up my confidence. And man, it was like one achievement after another.
That's so good.
It was great, man. It was great, but it took a lot of effort, a lot of hard work. And I literally cut everybody out of my life, man. Yeah. Every bad thing, every bad person out of my life. And I was solely committed to education. Well,
but can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
But before we go on, I want to pause and emphasize one point. So the whole thing to me right now, this whole part is people don't really understand how important it is, but of like your self-image, right? Because you said, who am I?
Right.
I'm going to literally go from this to this. And it's huge. There's a whole book on this, guys. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of my favorite books. And it's literally your whole self-image and what you believe in yourself, like, dictates the decisions you make, the beliefs you have, just your whole life. And I remember specifically one time when that happened to me, right? Because I was like, I was in high school one time, and
Yeah.
I really had a crush on this girl. And I went to Holmes, and then I transferred to Marshall for my senior year.
Right.
And I don't know, I was like on some wannabe gangster shit because I've never been like, I come from good parents, bro. Like, you know, they both work hard. I was just lost. It was my environment, like all my cousins and my brothers.
Right.
Like in that
It happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't me. I'm a good kid. Like, yo, I was a good kid. Like, I got raised good. My dad was tough on me. You know, work hard.
Yeah, but nobody knew that.
I just knew that wasn't me.
Right,
I was
right.
like trying to be like them.
Right, right.
And I just knew it wasn't me. And then one time, I just had a crush on this girl, and I went to Marshall my senior year, and she was like into like sports and those kind of, and I just like literally just like, wait, who the fuck am I? Like,
yeah,
I like this. I don't even think I'm this guy. And then that's when the switch happened for me, and I was just like, this ain't me, bro. Like, like, why am I dressing like this and acting like this ain't me? This is them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm from different cloth. Like, you know what I mean? And
yeah, you actually had an opportunity to transform yourself, right? To change your image.
Yeah. So like that's the moment it happened for me was with the girl.
Yeah.
And but I just want to say how important that was because I had a shift like that one time. So
Right.
like, who am I? This isn't me.
Yeah.
Like, and I always felt kind of like phony or something. Like, I'm not a gangster. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Who do I even want to be, right?
Exactly. Because I always want to be like an entrepreneur, or businessman.
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? And but I just really think that's super important.
Yeah.
Very important.
100%. Self-image, man, it dictates, what you do and your actions you take, right?
Right. All right. So what's the next step?
Man, so you say you like the adversity, right?
Yes.
You like that. So so here's something that came up.
Well, I don't like it. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's not about. Yeah, and I got you. But
I don't like it.
It wasn't like that. That wasn't it, right?
Yeah.
By this time I'm at a college, right? Mm-hmm. I'm in college. I just get off of probation, while I'm in college, right? I'm doing good. I'm doing the right things. Well, it was the fall semester, during finals week, and I was up studying in my little loft, and I was getting ready for my finals, and my house gets raided. My house gets raided again.
Your personal house?
Yeah, the one where I was living, right? It was.
Like you weren't doing anything bad?
I wasn't doing anything bad, thank God. But part of this was things that I had did before just followed me, So it wasn't like, because I was still out in the streets before I went to college, and I was, doing my thing, still dabbling. Well, something happened. Somebody ended up saying that I had drugs at my house, and so the cops go in with a search warrant. They don't find no drugs. Thank God, right? I'm doing good. I'm really all in school. Okay, cool. But they do find my wife's gun, all right? And because I'm a felon, then they're like, hey, well, we need you to cooperate. We need you to give us someone. I'm like, man, I'm studying for my finals. I'm not even in. I don't have nothing to give you. There's nothing I can do. So they end up getting an ATF guy to come over, and he comes and talks to me. He's like, look, man, you need to cooperate. You need to give him somebody. Give him your weed guy. Give him somebody. I was like, man, I have nobody. I was like, man, I'm away from that. I'm in school. I'm in college. This is what I'm doing. And he's like, well, if you don't give him somebody, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to charge you with felon in possession of a firearm. Oh, wow. Yeah. And I was like, man, all right. I don't know what to tell you. So they leave. They keep the gun. And it was Tracy's gun. It was under her name. She has every right to own it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay focused. I'm not going to let this detract me. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to take my finals. I'm going to keep going. Did my finals, passed. Boom. Still got my honors. Still going to the next semester into the spring. About 3 months into it, the feds put a warrant out for my arrest. They ended up charging me with felon in possession of a firearm. And man, like that right there was, it shook me again. I'm like, man, here I am trying to do things right, going to school. And why is this happening to me? Like I changed my life. I got away from all these people. I'm not doing those things. I'm not involved in anything. But then part of me is like, hey, you got to deal with it. It's going to be all right. You've been doing the work, right? And that's one thing that I was really, really making sure is like, because I was on probation the whole time, right? Yeah. And literally the month I got off probation, the next month that raid happens. It was crazy. And even the search warrant didn't even have my name on it. It was crazy. So it was really weird. But regardless, I go through that, and I want to fight it. I want to fight the case because I thought I was innocent. So I just keep going to school, and I remember God telling me, like, it's going to be all right. Everything that you've been doing is on paper. All your education, all your accolades, it's on paper. Nobody can take that from you, And I was so thankful that, I had changed my mindset. It wasn't like fake it and try to use this as a front. No, it was like do the work and do it right. So that way the proof is all there. So when it came time to, going to court, I remember my attorney, he had came to me. He's like, hey, the prosecutor's offering a 5-year probation. I was like, man, I don't want a conviction on my record. I mean, I already got one. I don't want another one. He's like, man, I think you should take it. I mean, this charge carries a mandatory 3 years. It's another federal offense, right? Carries a mandatory 3 years. I'm like, man, I want to fight it. He's like, all right. So it comes to a day where we go to court, and we're there, and the attorney comes out into the lobby, and he's like, hey, the prosecutor wants to talk to you. I'm like, all right, let's see what she has to say. She's like, all right. She's like, hey, Carlos, I've been investigating you, and I want you to know, like, I see that you're really doing the work. You're really doing it. I've never seen anybody do this. That's really going out there and going to school, and I want you to keep going, and I want to offer you this 5-year probation. I can't guarantee that you're going to get probation, but this is how it works. Your attorney will ask to deviate from the guidelines. I will not object, and usually the judge will grant it. And I was like, all right. She's like, and if you don't accept this deal, then I'm going to charge your wife with providing a felon with a firearm, and then you're going to have to fight 2 cases.
Damn.
And I was like, all right, you got me. I was like, I'll sign it. I trust that it's going to work out. And this is where I really start to apply my faith. I really apply faith that it's going to work out. God's there for me. He's going to protect me. I'm doing the right things. It's going to work out in my favor. And sure enough, man, go into the courtroom. Everything she said happened. They gave me 5. She could have tricked me. She didn't. It happened. They gave me 5-year probation, and I was able to continue my college education. But to me, it was also confirming that, man, you have to stay on this path. Like, don't deviate. Stay on it. Keep going forward. Keep improving. Keep growing. Like, that was the ultimate thing that really stuck with me. Like, God got you. Like, you're okay. And it worked out, bro. And so I continued to go, right? And I was like, all right, I'm back on probation, doing that. And I was like, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna show them what I can do. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna graduate. I'll graduate with honors. I ended up transferring from Northwest Vista to UTSA. I pursued my degree in real estate finance and development. I got accepted into the honors college, so I ended up graduating with honors from UTSA with a degree in real estate finance and development. So, man, and in that process, I joined a business fraternity. Shout out Delta Sigma Pi. I joined real estate organizations. I was just really involved. Like, I was just doing the schoolboy thing. Like, this is me. I'm a nerd. Yeah. I transform. I'm a nerd. I'm a schoolboy. Like, I'm working on myself. I'm gonna enhance myself for more skills, because one thing I saw as an advantage was I got street smarts. I got this hard knock life experience. Now I'm getting this college education experience, and that's going to make me even better. Yeah. It's going to make me that additional value to whoever I work with or I work for, and that's, man, and that was like the journey through college. And then I continued education. I went and got my master's degree in business administration, just because I was just, hey, why not? Just get another notch on the belt. Just to build the credibility, right? And that's how college went, man. It was a good experience. It was challenging though, man. It was hard.
The book, The Alchemist.
Yeah, Paulo Coelho.
Yeah. So like, and I just read it for. I love that book. I read it a lot of times, but it's like it's reminding me of that book, because that book is, what was that noise?
Your phone.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
You get that little edit or whatever. And all the stories, it's similar, right? So like, you're basically changing your life, like what it should have been or could have been,
right?
and you're going down this, what is it called in the book? Your personal legend.
Right.
Right? Like, you're getting uncomfortable. You're like,
Right.
you don't know if you're going to win or not. Right?
Right, right.
And everybody
it's faith. You're applying faith.
Right.
You know?
And you're like changing your fate.
Yeah.
Right? Your destiny. Like, you're putting it in your own hands.
Exactly.
You're chasing something like more than.
Right.
And this, it's like the same in everybody's story, right? Like, you're going to face some adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're going to have to question your faith. You're going to have to see if it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get like little signs, right? Like they call them omens.
Right.
Right? Good omens, whatever.
Right.
So like passing the test, and when he told you that, the prosecutor, a bunch of just stuff, right? They're just like, keep going. Keep on the path. Don't stop.
Like I got to get through the fire.
Right.
Like, man, I got to go through the fire to get there, you know, because the adversity comes, you know, but I took responsibility, man. I took responsibility for all my actions. Mm-hmm. But that's it, man. You gotta make sure you're doing the right things, because if not, then the opposite happens. You know.
So why did you choose like to go through the real estate development? What got you interested in that?
Well,
degree?
So I thought about it, right, and I was thinking about, well, one, you know, what sparked my change is like my children, right, my boys, and I like, all right, I have these 3 boys, and I thought about just my life and always craving a father, right? My own father. My dad spent 30 years of his life in prison. Oh wow. You know, and he was a gangster, you know, and that's who he was. But I always wanted to get to know him. I always wanted his time. He would write me letters. He would tell me, "Hey, I miss you. I love you." And he would just the letters were great. He communicated through letters, but that's all I got. I never got his time. I never got his guidance. I never got any of that. And even when he came home, it was short lived, and he'd be back in prison. And so I had to ask myself, man, like, well, who are you gonna become? Are you gonna be like your dad and not be there for your children? Because you don't have to be that way. Or are you gonna become somebody so you can be there for your children, and then actually you can guide them and lead them to become, you know, great men and have a father figure, right? And that sounded better to me. And so on top of that, it's like, all right, well, what kind of business can I do? You know, what kind of work can I do that's going to allow me to make enough money to support my family? I like nice things, you know. I like to take trips. You know, I have kids. I have mouths to feed, so I'm going to need to make a lot of money. So as I was going through the degree plans at UTSA, I remember thinking, like, well, there's a lot of wealthy people in real estate. They either own real estate, or there's something to do with real estate. Yeah. And that's a business industry where you don't need to work for somebody. You know, like it's a lot of it's focused on entrepreneurship. Right. So as I learned about real estate finance and development, that program, I was like, man, that's it. And it made me, I want to become a developer. You know, I want to become a real estate developer. So I chose that program, and that's what I went after, because I knew that real estate was going to be the vehicle to get me to where I want to be. It was going to get me that financial freedom. And it did. You know, it did. It worked out. But I believed in it, and I worked towards it. And I just got involved with anything and everything that was real estate related, just so I could keep learning, keep growing, and surround myself around those networks, because that's what I wanted, man. I wanted that financial freedom.
That makes sense. Okay, so then now you have your degree, all right? You got your degree in development, real estate development. You're out of college. Yeah. You got graduated with honors. What was the next step?
And, you know, this is funny. It's funny in a way, because, like, here we are, right? I go through this whole experience, and I have this success in college, but I haven't made a dime. In fact, I'm 70 grand in student loan debt. But as a man, as a person, I have skills. You know, my mind has been equipped, you know, with knowledge that I can actually apply. I actually could, you know, state my value. You know, while I was working at UTSA, I was also, while I was a student at UTSA, I was also a peer educator. So I would give a lot of presentations to kids on being responsible in terms of like drug and alcohol use and sexual responsibility, you know, stuff like that. So those are the things that kind of prepare me and equip me to be a better person moving into it. So beyond college, but with that, I had to apply some faith, right? It's like, okay, you're out of college, you have all this debt. Now what? Who's going to hire you, right? There's this there's this negative voice on my shoulder, like, who's gonna hire you? Your guys dead. What are you gonna do? Huh? Go figure it out. And this other voice said, get a job and just keep your eye open for opportunity. So I did. I got a job at Radio Shack. And I was like, I'm going to be humble. I'm going to apply different places wherever I can get a job. My brother's ex-wife, she actually hired me at Radio Shack. Thank God. So I can make some money. I wasn't making much, but to me, I already knew that was a stepping stone.
Right.
This is going to show my work ethic as far as like who I am, this new person that I am, right? I have work ethic. I'll do whatever it takes to succeed. So I ended up getting a job at Radio Shack. And, so I kept, and this was around June 2010. I had just graduated, so working at Radio Shack, and I worked there for about 9 months, and then finally around Thanksgiving, I was at Thanksgiving dinner at my uncle's house, and a distant cousin was there, and we were there. We were having dinner, and I remember my uncle. And my cousin's dad were talking, and they were like, yeah, you know, his name's JD. JD, he made $30,000 last month in real estate. I was like, what? Like $30,000 in a month? What do you do? And he started telling me, well, you know, it's some real estate investing. You know, we buy houses, we sell them to investors, you know. So he kind of just broke it down just really like lightly. I was like, man, well, do you have any opportunities in San Antonio? Man, I just graduated from UTSA. I'm selling myself, right? Graduated from UTSA. I got a degree. He's like, you know, we're thinking about opening up an office in San Antonio, but I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. I was like, all right, that sounds cool, man. Well, let me know if anything comes up. So I didn't think nothing of it, man. I'm like, you know what? Cool, man. I've heard that before, but yeah, I'm going to keep working. Maybe this is the opportunity. Maybe it's not. The next month, I get a call from the broker of San Antonio. Just opened up the doors. He's like, hey, Carlos, I heard a lot about you. You're from your cousin JD, and he said, you know, you're looking to get into real estate. Well, I want you to know, you know, we just opened up shop here, and you know, I'd like to meet you. So I was like, man, awesome. When can I come in? He's like, man, come in tomorrow. Cool. Come in, suited up. I'm ready to go. And I sit with him. His name's Nate, and I sit with Nate, and Nate's he's letting me know, you know, hey, this is what we do. He's giving me the rundown. He's like, we buy houses, we sell them to investors. You know, we typically sell about 20 a month. Right now, we're just getting off the ground. We just literally opened up the doors, and you're literally my first interview.
Damn, for real?
Yeah, I was like, man, that's awesome. Well, I'd love to be part of what you're doing. What do I have to do to come on? He's like, man, I'll give you a shot, but you got to get your real estate license. I was like, okay, got to get the real estate license. I was like, man, I'm gonna be just straightforward with you, bro. Like, I don't know if I can get my real estate license. You know, I have a couple felonies on my record. I'm actually still on probation for one of them. And he's like, all right, well, what'd you do? And I told him, I give him the rundown what I did. He's like, look, man, he's like, I know people mess up and people make mistakes, but if you can get your license, you know, I'll give you a shot. I'm like, man, cool, I appreciate that. What if I don't get my license? Can I still work here? He's like, probably not. And I was like, I thought to myself, like, you know what? I appreciate the honesty. I have nothing to lose, everything to gain. And he's like, man, look, I know Trek makes exceptions, right? And do some research, see if you fall within those exceptions. Sounds like you do, and you may be able to get it. So I did my homework. I saw my convictions fell under the umbrella of exceptions. And so I was like, all right, I think I can do it. So I went after it. And one thing that gave me confidence, you know, was like I had a good college resume, right? I had a lot of success in college, all on paper, right? So I went, took the courses, knocked that out, passed the state and national exam, knocked that out. I was like, man, I think I'm gonna get it. And then boom, pump the brakes, background check, investigation. They got to do all that. So I had to submit a bunch of extra documents, and it took about 6 months, but man, I just applied faith. I went head on, and they ended up giving me a probationary license for a year. And it was pretty much saying, like, just don't mess up, don't do anything wrong within a year, and you're good.
Wow. So,
man, like, that right there, bro, like, you don't understand. That right there just kind of gave me this super confidence, like, anything's possible. I can do anything. I really felt unstoppable. I'm like, man, this train's going. it's gonna keep going. Like, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
Like, what do I gotta do? All right,
Shit just keeps going your way.
It keeps going my way. And you know, it's always a point of contention. There's always a challenge. There's always a little bit of resistance.
Yes.
You know, and but I understand, like, this is just the price that I have to pay. Right. And I really didn't like look at it from that perspective, but looking back,
like, it's never like that during the moment.
Yeah. I'm just like, all right, just do it. Like, just do it. And so I get my license, but during that time of pre-licensing, I remember Nate just letting me sit around and be in there and helping the guys out. Like, I'm gonna help these guys out
before having your license.
Before having my license, so I would go.
He let you in there.
He would let me.
That's
in
how
there.
you know it was way back.
That's when you know we just started. He let me in
Sales?
there. But I wasn't selling any houses. I was just doing the things that would help them generate leads. So like bandit signs, I throw the bandit signs. We drive around and we have a stack of bandit signs. I throw them on the corner. I pop out. They take the calls. All that stuff. So
and this is 2010. This is before wholesaling was a thing.
Yeah, it was actually 2011.
2011.
Yeah, 2011.
But it wasn't what it is now.
No, definitely not. And I remember doing all that, and I remember going to networking events and meeting people. So, you know, I was just like, I'm gonna stay in action. And once I had passed my state national exam, I actually quit Radio Shack, and I just was always in the office and always working. And I remember telling Nate, I was like, man, I'm gonna be your best salesman. I'm gonna be your best salesperson. Is what I told him. He's like, all right, man. That was one of my goals. And I did. I became one of his top sales agents. That month I got my license, I sold my first house. The next month I sold like 3. The next month I had sold like 8. You know, I was just dusting them down. But it was just all that work that finally just like snowballed into this momentum. And it turned into business. And I'm like, man, I'm on this high horse. I'm like, I want more. Give me more responsibility. What do I got to do to get in acquisitions? What do I got to do to become a buyer for the company? He's like, man, hit bonus 2 more times and you're in, which means I got to sell a minimum of 3 houses each month. I was like, bro, done. All I need is the 2 months to pass, and that's happening. And it did. Hit my bonus, put me in acquisitions, and it's like, man, it's just one thing after another, one step, one mountain to climb, and just kept growing and growing. And finally to the point where, you know, I experienced a lot of success in terms of like agent production. And I was like, I got to the point, and it was about 4 years into it, where I was like, man, I want more responsibility, because by that time I was already off of probation. So I had more freedom, you know, I can go out, I can drink, I can hang out. So I started kind of doing that and hanging out the bars, and now I'm picking up some bad habits. And this is where some things, life starts to happen again. And, you know, thankfully, you know, nothing bad happens, but I'm changing in terms of like who I am as a person, who I am with the habits that I'm having. And this is where I started becoming aware of like, man, if you don't have the right habits, they're going to take you off the rails. Right. And it's like, what do I need more? And one thing that I was learning was like, out of education, man, I had all the books, right? The formal education, but like, how do I keep growing? How do I keep learning? And I remember this thought coming on. I was like, man, you need personal growth. You need to learn something that's going to help you grow personally. So I started looking for books to help me grow. And I came across this book, Think Your Way to Wealth, by Napoleon Hill. And when I read that book, I actually listened to the audio version. Man, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because there's 17 principles to success. And I started checking myself against those principles, and there was like a lot of principles that I was just not applying right. And I was like, man, I have a lot of work to do. One of them was the self-discipline principle. And this one hit me. He's like, man, if a man does not have self-discipline, he cannot control what he eats, what he drinks. He can't control what he indulges in. Then he can never be a great success. I'm like, dang. I'm like, all right, well, here, what am I doing? I'm overeating. I'm having steak dinners. I'm drinking all the time. I'm getting drunk all the time. Like, I'm going the wrong direction, you know? And I remember even having a conversation with my wife. She's like, hey, you're hanging out the bars too late, you know? Like, you're out here doing all these things. Like, this is not going well. You're going the wrong way. And it wasn't like, it was almost like I was blinded, because it wasn't the same stuff that I was doing before, but it was something that I was doing that was going to lead to, you know, catastrophic failure if I didn't change my ways. You know, so I was like, how do I change? I need more responsibility. I want to become a leader. You know, at this point, I'm like, if I'm become a leader, I have to lead by example, right? I'm responsible for people. As a producer, as an agent, nobody cares. You're an agent, just keep producing. Just keep bringing in the money. Nobody cares. Just keep doing it. Yeah, do whatever you want, you know? Cool. But as a leader, people do care. You know, people are going to care about how you represent them. They're not just going to let you do whatever you want. And then on top of that, the people that you're leading are going to think a certain way of you, you know? And it's like, man, okay, I got to get my shit together, you know? Because although I felt like I had my shit together, there were a lot of loose ends that needed to be tied. And that book exposed them. It exposed them, and it allowed me to start working on myself. So what did I start doing? I said, I need to tackle that principle right there, self-discipline. You know, none of this matters if I don't have discipline. So how do I get discipline? You know,
what book was that again?
Think Your Way to Wealth.
Think Your Way to Wealth.
Andrew Carnegie.
I'm gonna listen to that on the way home.
Yeah. So I ended up proposing to Nate and the leadership at the time to create an additional team, and that, you know, I would be the leader of that team, and my presentation, you know, earned their confidence, and they gave me the opportunity to build an additional team. And at that point, that's when I started to, when they gave me the green light, I was already like working on my discipline, you know. And I started doing this because I read another book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL, and he talks about how the SEALs get self-discipline. He says they wake up early, 4 a.m. As soon as the alarm goes off, up out of bed.
4 a.m.
4 a.m. and they start exercising, right? So I was getting up. So I started getting up earlier.
Yeah, that was one thing I remember stood out.
Yeah.
That you woke up at 4. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I started getting up earlier, and then I was like, I go to the gym. And I go to the gym, and I'm like, man, I'm going, but I'm not getting results. This is not efficient. I was like, instead of going and spending an hour in the gym and it's wasted, if I just got up and I ran, if I just got up and started running, then that would be more efficient than me going to the gym and trying to lift weights and not get results. The runs were going to have more, would allow me to have more results, and also strengthen my discipline, because it's harder to get up and run. And then to do it early in the morning when it's dark outside, that's kind of scary.
that's going against like your nature. Shit.
Well, you know, one of my fears was going out and running and getting chased by dogs. And I was like, man,
you're from the west side for sure.
You know, I'm from the west side, bro. Man, those dogs are out there. They'll chase your ass. Man, but literally in the neighborhood when I grew up, bro, there was, if I walked home at night, there was this pit bull that would chase me. It scarred me, bro. It scarred me. This was like 10, 11, 12 years old. That pit bull was always there. Chato, I remember. So I had this fear, man, getting chased by dogs. But then I remember, like, hey, man, stop. You know, man up, right? Like, man up, just go do it. So I put my shoes on, went out, ran. I did 3 miles. Cool, I made it. All right, did it again. I kept doing it. And then in the book, I would listen to the audiobook, Think Your Way to Wealth, right? While I would run. There was one principle called going the extra mile. And to go the extra mile is to do more than you're paid to do, right? So you go the extra mile for your clients, your customers, whatever. You go the extra mile. You do more than you're paid to do. And that gives you more value. I'm like, man, how the hell am I gonna go the extra mile? I don't get it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna run an extra mile. I'm gonna literally go the extra mile. Yeah. And I kept running the extra mile till I got to about 8 miles.
Damn.
And then that's when I was ding ding ding. Winner. But that's what I did, man. And so I was trying to figure out, like, how am I going to apply these principles, you know, while I'm doing this exercise. And so that was just like my progression, man, working on the discipline. The discipline is like the cornerstone, man. Nothing else matters if you don't have the discipline. Yeah,
that's what I'm very interested, because that's what I'm working on right now, my discipline. No, seriously.
It's hard,
It's
bro.
very difficult. Yeah. It's been my biggest struggle in life, my self-discipline. Cause
most people are, bro.
Yeah, because I get away with it because I'm like a high producer, and I don't need to do my discipline. But then you reach certain levels where you like cap out.
Yeah.
And you like feel like, man, it's my discipline.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm going through right now. Like, because I've always been able to get away with it just being a high producer.
Right.
But now I'm like, I can't get to this next level without
exactly.
this. And so that's where I'm at right now. And it's a struggle for sure. So I'm feeling everything you're saying right now.
Yeah,
so.
Right on. And that's what I realized. Like, man, that has, like, you have to feed it daily, bro. Like, you can't
the discipline,
because the moment you stop, and this is like David Goggins, he's the extreme, right? Goggins is like, man, he's running 20, 15, 20 miles, whatever. He'll go 100 miles.
On broken legs and shit.
But he's instilling that discipline, because that's the level of discipline that he's acquired. So for him, he has to stay at that level, right?
Yeah.
So there's no going back. right? So you have to keep building upon the discipline that you've already established, and you can't go backwards. You can't stop and say, I'm good right here, because if you're good right there, then guess what happens? You go in reverse, because we get older, time passes, right? And our bodies are not the same. We change, we evolve. So with time, and if the discipline is not applied, then there's regression. But if you want progression, then you keep pushing at the discipline, and you take that discipline to the next level. What area do I need to apply it? Where in my life am I missing the use of the discipline? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay, so I know that's what attracted me to homo. I was like, there's just something about this guy. Like,
Right.
it was the discipline.
Right.
And I was just like, damn, bro, you run 8 miles. You wake up at what time?
Yeah.
I remember you told me like 4 a.m.
Right.
And I was like, damn, I'm having trouble getting up at 6. Like, that's 4. I was like, that's on some Kobe shit.
Right.
Like, and that's what really, like, I was like, yo, I want to know more about this guy. What's going on, And so that was like, I think that's like your superpower.
Right.
Your discipline.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And
You even had me eating salads.
Well,
I was over here eating salads instead of cheeseburgers. I'm like, I like this style.
Well, and I realized that I needed that so I can become that person, right? Because it's another transformation, right? Who am I becoming? I'm always asking, who am I becoming? But part of that book on Think Your Way to Wealth was a definiteness of purpose, right? So there's another principle. So I'm gonna shift gears real quick. And what I learned, Carnegie's principle. So these principles came from Andrew Carnegie, one of the greatest, industrialists. I mean, he created Carnegie Steel, one of the wealthiest men in America. But his principles are timeless and they're sound. So definiteness of purpose. His purpose was manufacturing and marketing steel. Later on in life, he said his purpose was to develop men, to make men better, to help men grow. And that's what helped him form his Mastermind Alliance. Well, I took hold of that principle, and I'm like, man, well, my purpose beyond buying and selling real estate is to develop men, women, whatever. Like, if you're in my circle, I want to bring out the best in you. I want to share these principles that are life-changing, not only so I can experience success, but so you can experience success. Because to me, like, that's value. Right? When you can actually take what you've learned and you can actually share it and help someone else grow, man, you're doing good work. Man, you're making a difference in the environment. You're making a difference in the community. You're making the world a better place, literally from your circle. And it goes outwards. And then we can go and expand and start to make bigger impacts on those around us. So that was one of my things that I always would encourage people to do, from the workouts, from the running, like whatever it is. Like, man, let's do it. Like, you want to know how to do it? Let's go. This is what I'm doing. Hey, here are the principles. Here's how to apply them. So that became my life purpose, is to help develop people. And because I want to be around people that are going to make me better. I want to be around people that are going to hold me accountable. I don't want to be at that point where I'm the best and like nobody's saying, hey, well, what about you? Or, hey, you're falling off. I need somebody to make sure that I'm, in check and I'm staying on the path that I've set out to be. Because when you don't have that accountability, then it's easy to derail. But when your discipline is strong and you're constantly evolving and you're constantly evolving around people that are growing, well, then there's always checks and balances, and we work together, we grow together, and that's the goal.
Yeah.
So
no, definitely. I've instilled that into this company too.
Right on.
And I think I don't know where I get the principles from. Maybe it was that. But like we have like a thing like reading books gets you point. Like we do I call it like self-development challenge, right? So I think I did get that from you. I don't know where I got it from, but anyways, we do the books, healthy lunch, first in office, last in office, all that stuff. So I definitely believe in that too. Like in the meetings, that's part of our company course principles too. Like we're not just here to make money, which we're here to make the most money we've ever made, but we're also here to grow as men and into leaders, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, that's one of my principles too. So I can relate to that. I definitely wanted you on this podcast because I've told you a lot that you're one of my first mentors in this like self-development space, and I feel like that's who I am as a man now.
Right.
I'm big on self-development. It's actually one of my biggest like aspirations in life is to become a teacher of these principles, right? So real estate is how I make money.
Yeah.
And we gotta make money.
That's right.
So I'm gonna master this, but eventually I always tell people, and if you ain't heard it, now you know. My goal is to like teach this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like my true passion.
Right.
I love self-development just because like how far I've came as a person, you know? I was a whole different person 5 years ago, 6 years ago, just all around. So these principles are super important to me. And just like what is done in your life, what is done in my life, and what is done in people's life all around the world, and it's just knowing, right?
Yeah.
Like why didn't I wish I knew these things at 18. I didn't find them out until I was like 28.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, damn, I wish I would have learned them earlier.
Well, you know, it's I think some of those things it's part of the process. Like you can't have it figured out at 18.
Right.
Like, we got to go through the bumps and bruises.
Right. And it makes you who you are, right?
It
It strengthens that metal in you, right?
It builds the character.
Right.
It builds your character, and without it, man, you wouldn't be who you are. Without it, we couldn't transform. Without the pain, without the suffering, then we stay the same. But when we go through it, it teaches us, like, hey, there's a better way.
Right.
Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to do what it takes? Because a lot of times people are just stubborn, and they want to stay stuck in their ways, and they want to accept themselves for just being that way. But the reality is that you can change. You just don't want to. But when you really want to, that's when great things actually start to happen.
Yeah. And you know, I hope y'all can change through just being inspired by us, because that's why we do it. Hopefully we turn that light on for you. We ring that bell.
Yeah.
And no, because
that's right.
because a lot of times in people's lives it takes like a rock bottom.
Right.
So hopefully we're able to do that for you without that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think just even with that, like hitting the rock bottom's okay.
Yeah,
You know,
for
like,
sure.
Man, just you hit it, just bounce back. Like you hit it, bounce back, and that's really what it's about. Like you know, because you go up one mountain, man, you're gonna make it. You're gonna be happy. You got to come back down that mountain. You got to go up another one, and it's gonna require you to be better and you be smarter. And every mistake that you made in the previous journey, you know, you're just gonna take that lesson and do it better.
Yep, that's facts. So, man, what's next? What's the next step? What's the next chapter for Carlos Garcia, man?
Yeah. So for me, you know, it's priority is continue to build up my family and making sure that my kids are successful. My oldest son, he's at West Point.
Congrats.
My second oldest, he's in college. He's actually at Northeast Lakeview, so we're building him up. And then my third oldest, Josiah, he's a senior at Reagan. And then I have, you know, I have Nico, Leilani, Mac, and Zenora. So my other kids, they're growing. But that's first and foremost, making sure that I'm, you know, continue to improve as a husband and continue to strengthen my faith with God, because that's like, man, God's in the center. I got to give all glory to God, man. Like I couldn't do it without God's grace, without God's blessing, without God leading me. And you know, now I've created, you know, since you know, I've left the old brokerage, I've created my own brokerage, and now, you know, I'm taking my business to the next level, and it's called Level Up Realty. So that's the next chapter, is to build that up to be something extraordinary.
Nice. Well, I believe in you, brother. I think that it's gonna be great. Thank you for coming on and dropping these gems on your story. Hopefully we've inspired some viewers to go out there and you know, face whatever they're facing.
Yeah.
And level up, right?
That's right.
So for our departing, do you have any last words, some tips for the audience?
Yeah, I would say just don't let yourself make excuses. Don't let anybody make excuses for you. You know, because that right there is a dream killer. You know, if you allow any excuse to get in your way, or any experience to get in your way from doing something, you won't make it. Like you have to get rid of the excuse, and you have to say, what can I do? Think about what you have right now. Think about if you're healthy, if you have a body, you have your legs, you have your hands, you have your mind. You can do something. You can take action. And then just believe, man. You got to have faith. Take action with faith. Like you don't need to see a guarantee sign. Like if you do this, it's going to happen. Like, no, if you put in the work and you do it day in and day out, the results will come. And if you learn from your mistakes, the results will come and you'll get better. So no excuses, and apply some faith and watch yourself grow.
I like it. Guys, well, I hope y'all learned a lot from this. I hope y'all got something from this. Before we leave, where can they find you if they want to reach you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, CarlosG210. I'm on Facebook. You can check out my website, leveluprealty.biz. Yeah, so you can find me in one of those spaces.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. You know where you can find us, JR Clutch, on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We got some new stuff rolling out for y'all. ClutchStudents.com. Make sure y'all go to that. We're going to be doing some free webinars. We're going to have some workshops. We're going to have some courses for y'all. So if you are interested in doing what we do, make sure you go sign up, ClutchStudents.com. It's absolutely free. You'll join our mailing list, and we'll send you stuff we got coming out. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed this, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, share with your friends so we can spread this message. Drop a like, all right, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Stay clutch.
Boom.